Heard what Paul McMullen said. What do you make of the newsroom culture?
Well, I mean, look, I think you have to still evaluate it newsroom by newsroom, right? I mean, can you imagine if at Time Warner, everyone started evaluating all of the properties together as opposed to evaluating them individually? Now, some people say Murdoch is different. There's a culture at the Murdoch properties that make them different. That may or may not be the case, but as a legal matter, you've just got to evaluate it separately. The Wall Street Journal, separate from The Sun, separate from the News of the World, separate from Fox News Channel.
But they're still part of the same company. And you have to admit that Rupert Murdoch has had an influence on the world when it comes to media and over here in the United States in the last 20 or so years.
Enormous.
So why wouldn't that trickle down in the company as well if he can do it around the world?
It's fair for us in the media to be asking about it, right? It's fair for us to be saying, what's the culture there? Is this sort of indicative of a bigger problem in the media? But as a legal matter, and you just laid this segment out by talking about the arrest, we're talking about serious stuff here. So I'm not going to sort of look at this with a broad brush. Instead, I think it's really important when you're talking about these very serious allegations to look at it entity by entity. And, there's no evidence up to this point that the American institutions, meaning the Wall Street Journal, Fox News Channel, et cetera, were engaged in any of the kind of conduct we're talking about.
I want to ask you, because I want to know, what are the legal implications for that culture, for Rupert Murdoch, for Rebecca Brooks, for Andy Coulson, for anyone who's going to testify? What are the implications?
Again, I'm going to look at it person by person, which is some of the British leaders of the organizations are facing some serious allegations.
And James Murdoch, the son as well.
Well, he's a separate issue. Let me first talk about the people who are directly responsible, which is that they're facing allegations with regard to intercepting communication, hacking, phone hacking. If that turns out to be the case, and people here did it, they could be investigated and prosecuted as well. That's a crime in England. That's a crime in the United States. The bigger concern, I think, for the empire as a whole is that the U.S. authorities are now investigating, the FBI is investigating with regard to 9/11 victims, but there are also federal laws that basically prevent an organization from paying off foreign officials. So usually it means paying off for a contract, right? You want to get a special contract with a foreign government, you can't effectively give them bribes, or you'll be prosecuted in the United States. There's some saying that that law could be used to prosecute News Corp here in the United States, but I think that to do that, there's going to have to be some knowledge on the part of the U.S. officials that this was going on. And you heard in your